So, welcome back. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please try to subscribe. I'll be dropping and edit. I'll be talking about chess in general. I'll be um, teaching you moves, basics, and all that. So I would really appreciate if you subscribe to support the growth of the channel. So yeah, now let's I want to discuss special moves. Okay, there are, I've taught you how in the previous videos. I've taught you how these pieces move. Okay, I'll drop the link in the description below. How the pawns and the rest move. We've discussed all those things. We have discussed the idea of chess for beginners. But one thing we've not talked about are special moves. Special moves like castling. Okay, special moves like capturing en person, and special moves like pawn promotion. Okay, what does the pawn become when he gets, what happens to the pawn? Okay, what happens to the pawn in general? I told you the pawn only moves up once and blah 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 blah. So we are going to look at that. But first of all, let's look at castling. We'll be looking at them while in talk. Okay, so I'll play this game and then I will show you what they are. So if white decides to open, okay, this is a common opening method. Let me use the one we call the Italian game. Okay, this is the way chess is being played. Okay, so just be paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay, just be paying attention. That does not mean what I'm doing is right or wrong. There's no right and wrong. You just play to win. So, but later we will know that there's right or wrong. Good. Now from here, what happens? Okay, we've not gotten to where I want to. So what happens from here? This is a blunder or a mistake, but I'm doing it just for tutorial purposes. What happens from here? There's what we call castling. Okay, castling spelled on the screen. Now, what happens with castling? Castling is a process whereby you move your king to safety, and it can only occur with the rooks and the king involved. Now, if you look at this board, I could move this king to anywhere, but now this is what we'll do. I will castle. How does castling occur? I can, if I touch this king, right, I can touch this other piece here and it will automatically castle. But if I want to do it manually, I will move this king. From here, I will count 1, 2 to the right. 1, 2, place this king here and then place the rook beside it. So let's watch how it happens. You see, it has castled. Now my king is now relatively safe. Okay, now for this piece here, I can also castle. I can castle this way, I can castle this way. The same thing applies. I can count 1, 2, and then put the rook beside it in real life. Or I can just touch, grab hold of this, and it has automatically castled. So this is castling, the process of moving the king to safety. I want my king to be safe from enemies' attack. Okay. Now, castling is a very, very, very important move in chess. In fact, I tell beginners, once you start chess, by move 8, move 9, move 10, you should have castled. Okay. From move, maybe let's just put move 12. If you have not castled as a beginner, you are doing something wrong. It is very, very important that every beginner aims to castle. We have two types of castling, long castling and short castling. When you castle in the side of the king, it is called short castling. When you castle the side of the queen, it is called the long castling. Like black here has done what we know as long castling, while white has done what we know as short castling. So now their kings can be considered to be relatively safe from enemy attack. It is always important you move your king away from the center. Okay, good. Now let's look at um, which other move? Pawn promotion. Okay, let's look at pawn promotion. When you play chess, what is the objective for the pawn? The pawn has this hero story. Okay, it starts from a pawn, and before you know it, it can become anything when it gets to the bank rank. So of the opponent's piece, this thing file what. So when this pawn moves now, you see this back rank for black. If this pawn can successfully come to anywhere here, it will become anything it wants apart from king. It can decide that it wants to become a rook, a knight, a bishop, a queen. So let's watch. Let me play a game where the pawn will succeed in becoming whatever it wants to be. Okay, so my target is the pawn. I want the pawn to get here. Okay, so wanting the pawn to get here. Now, once this pawn comes to this square, it can become whatever it wants to be. That's the rule of the game. So this is a special move. I always tell people, because sometimes you see newbies when they want to play, and you make this special move, they'll be like, oh no, you're cheating. The person is not cheating. It is a special move that can occur during the game. We have 3 important special moves that I have listed out. Okay, pawn promotion is one of them. Castling we have already discussed, and the last one we'll discuss is passant. So now let me capture this knight, and remember I told you that pawn captures sideways. So that means I can capture this, or since there's nobody in front, or I can come here. So if I decide to capture this, they will ask me, who do I want to become? Do I want to become a queen? Do I want to become a rook, a knight, or a bishop? So let me say I want to become a queen. Sorry. So if I say I want to become a queen, you can see that we now have two queens for white. This is a queen. Okay, let me first make any move for black. So this is, so we have 2 queens. So this is a queen, and this is another queen, right? How did I get this queen? The pawn was able to get to this point. The same thing can happen for black. So if white is playing and peradventure allows black to succeed in getting to this point, right? Black can also decide to capture this rook and become a queen as well. You see, so it is very, very important that when you play, you have this at the back of your mind, that once the pawn gets to somewhere here, it can become deadly. Okay, it can become deadly. Now, this is this. Let's look at let's look at capturing en passant. So it's a French word. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it the right way. Okay, but let's look at capturing en passant. In English, it is called capturing en passing, but most times they prefer to stick to the French word, which means when you are passing, you capture someone. Okay, let's look at, let me show you. So now if I make this move, black makes this move, right? And then I make this move, black makes this move, and then I decide to make this move. Good. From here, this is where en passant can happen. Black could decide to do something funny, right? And move, black has been making just one square, and move 2 squares at a time. Now before I make this move, if black should come here, if black should play here, remember that pawns, if black should come to f6, okay, if black should come to f6, remember that pawns capture sideways. So if black should come to f6, that means my pawn on e5 will be able to capture the pawn on f6. Because of that, black might be tempted to come to f5 to evade me capturing him, right? When black does that, okay, let me also make this move so you will see. Let me also make this move. Sorry. Let me also make this move. So now, good. These are let's try %. So now, if black should come here, come to f6, these 2 pawns on e5 and g5 can equally capture it. So because of that, you say, okay, I don't want him to capture me. He will now move to what? f5. Once he comes here, then % can happen. Once he comes here, %, what is %? Capturing in passing. If a pawn decides to move to use his 2 moves, in the first move just to evade being captured by another pawn, that pawn that could have captured it will end up capturing it. Now what will I do? I will just come here and move my pawn, any of the pawns I want to use to capture it. I'll move this one to f6. This is the square I'll bring it to. So this square, so it will play as if, instead of it to just continue, it will play it as though it's still seeing this pawn here. So you just play this. You see, it has captured it and the pawn has gone. So let's try it with this one as well. This one can decide to say, okay, I don't want this person to capture me, but the pawn will insist and capture it nonetheless. Are you seeing? So this is called %. When you try to move twice just to escape being captured, it is known as %. If the person captures you, it is not a foul play, it is not a wrong play, it is the correct play. Okay, so thank you very much. Try to subscribe to my channel. From the next chapter, we'll start discussing chess properly. We'll discuss checkmate, elements of checkmate, and so on and so forth. I am teaching this chess from the book that I read, a book of Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer is considered one of the greatest chess players of all time. In fact, he's one of my favorites, if not my favorite. He was a former US world champion. He defeated the Soviet Union when it mattered the most. Okay, when chess was still chess, without engine and all that. So Bobby Fischer conquered the world, and I'll tell you his story later. But for now, let's learn from him. Okay, so I'm using his book to teach chess. So everything I'm saying here is what I learned from reading his book. Thank you very much. As you subscribe, remember we will discuss Fischer very well in subsequent talks or series.